Hello, everyone, and welcome back to World Regional Geography. This is our lecture on the physical geography of the Middle East, North Africa, and Central Asia region. So this is the region that we are covering this week, which, as I mentioned last week, would cover Northern Africa, as well as what we often call the Middle East, or more formally called Southwest Asia, and the countries of Central Asia. This region is characterized by several unifying bonds, such as Islam and Arab and Turkish cultures. The Arabic language, for example, is also prominent in Northern Africa, along with the religion of Islam, which is present in all of these countries to one extent or another. We have, for example, Arabic language, Arabic writing system, and except for Turkey, Iran, and Israel, the Arabic language as well. We also have several branches of Islam like Sunni and Shiite Islam in this region. When we think about the physical geography of North Africa, we also think about two sub-regions, or three sub-regions rather. The first is the North African region, and then the Middle East or the Persian Gulf region of Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and the other Gulf countries like the United Arab Emirates, where Dubai is located. And one of the unifying aspects of this region, besides the language and the religion, is also the climate. This is a region that is characterized by dry, arid conditions as well. And so the societies that develop in this region are going to be very much influenced by the climate. We have an important mountain range in the region in the western region of North Africa, which is home to the Atlas Mountains. We also have other mountain ranges like the Anatolian Plateau and the Zagros Mountains. Like with other mountain ranges that have a west windward direction, we are also going to see the orographic effect or the rain shadow effect, which in the regions of Morocco that are facing the coast, we're going to have vegetation and moisture, whereas in other regions on the other side of the Atlas Mountains, we're going to have the Sahara Desert. Another important aspect for water in this region is oases. Oases are, the name translates to islands of life. And these are areas located deep in the desert where erosion has lowered the land surface to reach the water table. And so when we talk about erosion, we talk about the movement of the sand by wind or other climate forces. These are areas where we have a relatively high groundwater table that results in water existing close to the surface. And oases have been very important in the historic travel through the Sahara region. So as I mentioned, a unifying aspect of this region is the climate, which is dry, and we also have subtropical climates. The dry climate receives less than 20 inches of rainfall, for example, in the Sahara Desert, but also Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and parts of Iran. Then we have the regions with the most rainfall, which are going to be the regions in the mountains, such as the Atlas Mountains or the Anatolian Plateau in Turkey, as well as the Zagros Mountains in Iran, that receive more rainfall because of the high elevation of the mountains as well. In this region, we consider the rivers as exotic, usually because the rivers originate outside of the areas where they flow. The most important of these is, of course, the Nile River here in Northern Africa that originates in the Great Lakes of East Africa and travels through Sudan and Ethiopia, where both the White Nile and the Blue Nile meet in Khartoum, the capital of Sudan, to form the Nile River. We also have the Euphrates and the Tigris rivers, which originate in Turkey and parts of Armenia, and which will later flow through Syria and Iraq. And again, these are exotic because they flow through areas outside of where they originate. In Central Asia, we're going to find several countries like Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Afghanistan. The suffix stan is a Persian word for the land of. So Kazakhstan is the land of the Kazakhs. Uzbek is the land of the Uzbekistan is the land of the Uzbeks, etc. Here the region is characterized by a steppe, especially in Kazakhstan and Afghanistan, but also by important mountain regions here in Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Afghanistan. For example, we have the Hindu Kush Mountains, the Pamir Mountains, the Fan, and the Tian Shan Mountains bordering China. This area is also desertic and semi-desertic throughout the region. And we're going to find, again, most people are going to be concentrated in the mountains because this is where the water also is concentrated. We have two main bodies of water fed by rivers in the region. The largest of these is going to be the Caspian Sea, which is a region, an inland sea that is rich with natural gas and oil, so fossil fuel rich region. And we also have two rivers that originate in the mountains known as the Sirdarya and the Amu Darya River. The Amu Darya River also feeds the Karakum Canal, which brings water to the capital of Turkmenistan, Tashkent, as well as the agricultural regions of Turkmenistan and parts of Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, we also have two rivers, the Helmand River and the Kabul River. So as you can see, this area, like the Middle East and North Africa, is also dry, and the population is also closer to where the water sources are going to be. As a dry region, this region faces the main environmental challenge, which is water scarcity. When we look at this map, we are looking at pie charts that represent a million cubic meters of water. And in the purple, we have unmet demand, and in the blue, we have met demand. And this is looking from water demand from 2020 to 2030. So within the next 10 years, we predict that there will be some countries that will have large amounts of met demand of water that will not be able to meet their demands for water. For example, countries like Morocco, right, are only going to be able to meet half of the demand of their water. Egypt is going to be able to meet about 70% of its water demand. However, countries like Iraq, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, these countries here in the Gulf region will not be able to meet more than half of their water demand. When we look at a country like Lebanon as well, Lebanon is not going to be able to meet about 80 to 90% of water demand. So we predict a lot of water scarcity in the region for the next 10 years. Okay, just two more slides to close on. One of the other environmental challenges of the region is its over-reliance on fossil fuels as a main economic sector, and also the rise of urbanization. Large urban areas have grown and encroached upon agricultural land, which forces the region as well to import most of its food. As the cities grow, they also extract more groundwater. Again, as I mentioned, water scarcity is going to be a main challenge for this region in the coming decades. And so some countries like Qatar and Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates have resorted to the creation of desalination plants. These desalination plants will run on fossil fuels like natural gas and oil to produce fresh water. But most desalination plants are pretty expensive, so the poorer countries like Lebanon and Yemen, for example, will not be able to afford desalination plants. And of course, as the cities have grown, they have developed around the automobile, and so we have a dependence on cars. And because we have an abundance of natural gas and carbon and fossil fuels, we have low investments in solar energy and wind energy. Lastly, one of the regions that has been completely devastated by a lack of environmental management is the Aral Sea. During the Soviet period, when Central Asia was part of the Soviet Union, the USSR diverted the Sirdarya and the Amur Darya rivers and used up the water for cotton plantations in Uzbekistan or irrigated agriculture in Turkmenistan, areas that are very dry. And as we diverted the water from these rivers, the Aral Sea, which depended on them, began to dry up. And this is an area that we consider one of the first ecocides, the killing off of an ecosystem. We see satellite images of what the Aral Sea looked like in 1970, 1990, and now in 2010, most of it is dry except for the northern part that receives some water from the Sir Darya River. Okay, that's it for this section on the physical geography of the Middle East, North Africa, and Central Asia. In the next section, I will focus on the history and culture of the region.